Hey guys, today I'll show you the short recap of a 2016 American crime thriller movie, Money Monster. The movie begins with the protagonist Lee Gates, a television financial expert, talking on his edition show Money Monster. He tries to analyze the situation that happened to one of the leading stock exchange groups, Ibis Clear Capital, which saw a sudden crash due to a glitch in a trading algorithm, leading investors to lose $800 million. He tries to calm the investors down that the stocks are coming back and then performs some stunts. The next scene shows Kyle in a bathroom, and his longtime director Patty Fenn comes to inform him that Walt Canby, Ibis CEO, was on a plane to Geneva, Switzerland. Lee had arranged a live meeting with Walt Canby to talk about the crash that happened, and he was surprised to know that Walt had cancelled the meeting. However, Lee was arranged to meet with Diane Lester, the chief communications officer of Ibis. While Diane tries to speak to him from a screen, Lee doesn't respond to her as he is displeased with Walt not being around. He therefore rants about private jet owners always getting their way to travel anytime they wish, and he leaves. Lee then meets with Ron Sprecher, his producer, who hands him a paper and then tells him about his meeting with Tony Biscano, at Lysem Pharmaceutical. Ron then shows him a cream he was given there, and Lee asks if he has tried it, but he says no, and Lee tells him to try it out. Lee is then seen preparing for his latest live edition show, and a man is shown carrying 2 boxes into a van. The next scene shows the man getting to his destination and carrying the boxes along with him into the building as he passes the security checkpoint. Lee starts his edition show, and as he begins to talk about Ibis Clear Capital being down another quarter to $8.40, the man with the boxes, who is assumed to be the delivery guy, watches him on TV. Lee talks about Diane Lester coming on the show to explain what went wrong and how they plan to fix the problem. Lee then starts analyzing the stock, and Patty sees the man with the boxes. The man walks towards the show, pulls out a gun, and points it at Lee. Lee thinks he is joking, and as the man fires the gun in the air, they all go down. Patty orders the cameraman to cut the feed, but the man tells them to turn them back on. Patty insists on not putting it on, but as he says he would shoot Lee if they disobeyed him, she orders them to put it back on. Patty tells one of the men to call the security, and as he does that, the security thinks he is joking until he switches the TV and sees what is going on. The security then quickly alerts the police. The man pulls Lee close to the box and tells him to open it. Lee is surprised to see that it is an explosive jacket. The man forces him to put it on and then orders him to sit on a chair. Lee complains of having a heart attack as he is shocked about everything going on. However, the man tells him nothing is wrong with him, and he can rather drink water. The next scene shows the police arriving at the building, and the man is seen sealing the doors and telling no one to go out. He then holds a paper and begins to tell the people watching him that the whole trading system is rigged, and Lee, with his people, are the ones stealing the money from them. Lee tries to interrupt him, but he angrily shouts at Lee to keep quiet. He then further tells the people that Lee and his people literally own the airwaves and control the whole information that circulates around. Lee then gets to realize that the man didn't come for him but for Ibis. Lee then tells him that he knows he lost a lot of money, but the man tells him that Lee is to be blamed as he once mentioned a few days ago that it was safer to invest in the stock. Lee disagrees with him, and he orders for the tape to be shown. The next scene shows the police appearing at the building and the security telling him the number of people in the building. The tape is played, and Lee realizes that he did say Ibis was safer, and he apologizes by saying he was exaggerating to make a point. Lee asks how much he lost, and he responds by saying 60 grand. Lee then promises to arrange it all back for him, but he refuses and says he wants $800 million. Lee tells him it won't be possible to arrange such money immediately, but he points his gun at Lee and asks if he thinks he is stupid. He informs Lee that he knows that he came to the show knowing he was not walking out freely. One of the police detectives, Captain Marcus Powell, calls Patty and tells her to ensure they keep stalling the man from detonating the bomb. Patty then informs Lee about it. The police begin to evacuate the people in the building, and the man is also seen closing the exit door that is linked to the live show. Lee tries to talk to him, but he keeps ranting about how possible it was for investors to lose $800 million overnight. One of the police agent's negotiators tries to talk to him, but he warns that he only wants to speak to Walt Canby, and they cut the police officer off. Lee agrees to get Walt on the line to talk with him, and Patty also orders one of her men to get Diane on the line. Patty tells one of the cameramen to direct the camera to the man, and she tells Lee to host him. Lee then asks about his name, and Patty informs Lee that he is Kyle Budwell. He tells Lee to call him Kyle, and Lee tells him they would like one of their men to put the microphone on him so everyone could hear him better. Patty puts Ron on the air with Lee, and Ron gets to see what is going on in the show. Lee tells him to get down to Ibis Clear Capital for an interview with Diane. The next scene shows some set of people making a protest and the people leaving the scene after the police release tear gas. Ron gets to the Ibis, and Diane has a quarrel with one of her bosses as he tells her not to go for the interview. The police have a meeting, and one of the detectives informs Captain Powell that the only way for them to get rid of the bomb is to shoot the receiver that was directly at Lee's left kidney. The following scene shows Diane going to meet with Ron and allowing him to enter the Ibis building so she could come on air and speak to Kyle. Diane speaks with Kyle and tells him that they are willing to compensate him for his loss. Kyle tells her it's too late for compensation, and all he wants is just an answer to the crash. Dane tells him she does not know and begins to talk out of point, and this pisses Lee off. Lee interrupts her and tells her they don't need all that she has been saying and only want her to explain what went wrong the previous week of the crash. Lee then further tells her they need to get to speak with the quant who designed the algorithm that crashed. However, Kyle insists on either getting an explanation from Diane or speaking with Walt. Diane informs him that Walt is on a plane, and Kyle gets pissed by this and shoots the monitor screen. Kyle goes haywire, and Lee tries to calm him down and bargain with him for more time to get everything figured out. Kyle agrees to give him 10 minutes, and Lee uses a laptop to inform Lee that they have 10 minutes to find the quant. Lee, on the other hand, comes up with a plan to talk with millions of investors watching them to buy the Ibis stock. He tries to convince them that if everyone buys the stocks, the price will start going back up. He then further says that they can all turn a bad investment into a good one by sheer force of will. He then tells them he is moving Ibis from a sell to a buy, and he activates the triple buy. This makes the people start buying, and the price seems to be coming up as planned, but all of a sudden, it drops even further than its previous value. The police are able to get in contact with Kyle's girlfriend, and they find out that she's pregnant. Patty informs Lee about Kyle's girlfriend. Lee then decides to play mind games with Kyle so as to stall him and make him give out some information about his family. Through it, Lee gets to know Kyle has a girlfriend, and she is expecting a baby. Lee keeps on ranting to Kyle about his life and unborn child, and this pisses Kyle. Kyle then pushes Lee and attempts to shoot him. Patty calls Kyle's name out and orders him to stand by. The police get Kyle's girlfriend Molly on air to talk with him. Molly speaks harshly to Kyle and also condemns him for using the whole money they had. Kyle is devastated by these, and Lee tries to calm him down. Diane gets to speak with the quant, and he informs her that someone was behind the crash and that the algorithm could not cause that whole amount of crashes overnight. Walt Canby arrives in the city on a plane, and he gives Diane the chocolate he brought for her from Switzerland. Diane helps him with his bag, and she gets to find out that he traveled to South Africa and not Geneva in Switzerland. One of her co-workers, Amy Lee, sees her, and Diane warns Amy not to say a word. Kyle thinks over Molly's words, and he feels bad about what he has done and starts perambulating. Lee sees the gun on the table, and he could take it if he wanted, but instead, he calls Kyle to take it. He then tells Kyle he would not kill him as there is still a way out of the issue on ground. A police detective is able to get into the showroom, and he notifies the rest. Some other police get into the room, and they help all the cameramen out of the room, but Lenny still remains there. Bree, Patty's assistant, finds out about the police plan to fire the receiver on Lee's body. Patty gets a text from Diane saying that Walt was in South Africa and not Geneva. Lee then sends some informants to find out what Walt went there to do. Patty informs Lee about Walt's deeds and how he has lied to them all and also made them liars. Kyle realizes that most of the cameramen have all gone, and this makes him angry. Bree informs Patty about the police plan to shoot Lee, and Patty quickly informs Lee about it. Lee quickly moves away before he is shot at, and he pulls Kyle to the ground and tells him that they aren't aiming at him. Lee informs him that he knows Walt Canby's whereabouts and he would take him there, but he needs to trust him. He tells Kyle to cover up his vest, and he collects the mic on him and then takes him to the elevator along with Lenny. Lee takes Kyle across the street along with Lenny as they head towards Ibis. While going, Kyle informs Lee that the vest is not explosive and it just contains blocks of clay. However, Lee tells him not to remove his finger from the trigger as the police believe the vest is explosive. Ron gets to meet Patty, and she gives him an earpiece to give to Lee. Ron tries to get Lee's attention and give him the earpiece. Kyle, however, accidentally shoots Ron. Lee and Kyle finally get to the Ibis building, and Walt realizes that Diane has tricked him. He tries to run out of the building but bumps into Lee and Kyle. They are able to get hold of Walt and then arrange him for an interview to explain to the world what caused the crash. However, Walt denies all allegations placed on him, and they then show him camera footage of the things he had been up to. Walt is still able to get his way from their allegations, not until Kyle forces him to wear the explosive vest and then threatens to kill him before he confesses that he was wrong all along. Kyle is finally happy hearing this, and he pretends to blow the explosive vest up and gets shot by the police. Lee isn't happy about this, and he shouts to the police to get an ambulance. They don't answer him as they handcuff Kyle's hands and later find out he is dead already. The movie ends with Patty coming to meet Lee, and she asks about Ron, and he tells her that Ron is already fine and out of surgery. She then brings 2 foods out, and they both eat while watching the news. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you had an awesome day, and do not forget to cheer people around you. If you liked the video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for daily content like this.